The early internet was a wild and kind of crazy place. There was all sorts of flash games and web games in general that were kind of crazy and probably shouldn't have existed to begin with. Today I'm going to talk about some of these games. Elliot Rodger, the lost and found game. For a while, the only known mention of the Elliot Rodger game was from a Reddit user named Danny Desktop. He not only claimed to have played the game, but he even claimed to have posted footage across multiple subreddits. Strangely enough, I personally remember hearing about this game from a couple of other sources on YouTube back in the day. Although I can't find those either, and I don't even know where to start looking, so I guess those are lost media in and of themselves. When I originally started writing the script for this video, Elliot Rodger was considered lost media, but technically that's no longer true due to a YouTuber named Kobe, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Although his video is great, check it out, link in the description below. The game has technically been found and now is preserved, and I say technically because the game was available the entire time and I guess nobody knew about it. That said though, the game is just awful. It was apparently made just a few days after Elliot Rodger did what he did. I'm not gonna go into detail because, well, you know, but the game looks terrible. It was clearly thrown together in some weird old game program and looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Now, the visuals are not just rough, they're genuinely hard to look at, and the game is straight up broken. Honestly, the most interesting part about this was the search, which if you want to know anything about, you should go watch Kobe's video on the topic. It covers the whole journey from rumor to recovery. Chainsaw the Children. If you wanted edgy, then here it is. A game where you play as a purple guy in what I assume is a trench coat and a hockey mask. You roam a beach with a chainsaw looking for children. When you find them, you slice them up and kill them. Yep, that's basically the entire premise of the game. Doesn't get any more edgy than that. Yeah, somebody walked in on the playthrough that I was doing of this game and now I think they think I'm a sociopath or something. Overall, we really don't know that much about this game, just that it was released on Newgrounds sometime between 2001 and 2004. There's some mystery surrounding the creator, but honestly, I would probably not want to put my name on this. Baby Bash was a notorious flash game that gained infamy in the early to mid-2000s for its pure shock value and grotesque nature. Developed by the creator Mego Sucks, the game presents you with a crude stick-figure animation, where the player is tasked with violently smashing babies, with various tools, in various disgusting ways. The game's sole purpose seems to be to provoke and disturb, with no meaningful gameplay, or any sort of narrative anything, really. The game was hosted on Newgrounds, a site known for hosting experimental and kind of violent content at times, but it was removed for its disturbing nature. Throughout the years, the reactions to Baby Basher have been overwhelmingly negative, with viewers expressing disgust and outrage. For instance, one reviewer on Newgrounds described it as 100% child abuse, whilst another one stated, "This game is fucking horrible. It's nothing but a sociopath who smashes and kills babies." Despite the removal of the game, Baby Basher is still talked about to this day just for how, well, disturbing it was at the time. In 2008, during the height of the Flash game era, a title appeared on Newgrounds that sparked immediate controversy, known as the Torture Game 2, created by a user named Civilballs. The game quickly became a lightning rod of controversy. The absence of any sort of purpose to this game made it very unsettling to many. It almost became a mirror, a reflection of the user's willingness to engage with the senseless violence. In addition, this also led to it being criticized by many parents and educators. Some saw it as a mindless gore simulator, whilst others viewed it as an unintentional experiment in player psychology. A provocative look at what happens when boundaries are completely removed, whether viewed as disturbing or revealing. The Torture Game 2 is a case study in how interactivity can change the meaning of violence. It forces us to look, to ask, what happens when a game gives you total control and no moral framework? You already knew this one was going to be on the list. Super Columbine Massacre RPG is a controversial game released in 2005 by the developer Danny Ladon. The game was made in RPG Maker 2000, and it puts players in the roles of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the shooters behind the 1999 Columbine school shooting. According to Ladon, he claims that the game was meant to explore the why behind the tragedy, not to glorify violence. But its graphic subject matter and playable format obviously sparked, well, let's just say a bit of outrage. This game is bizarre and also weirdly unserious, which is something I'll get back to. To exemplify what I'm speaking about, the game starts out with the Marilyn Manson song, The Nobodies, a song that is very much dedicated to the two boys. There's a lot that happens in this game, and therefore it's kind of hard to talk about it all in one little segment. I'm honestly planning to make a video about this game all on its own, so I'll kind of keep it short. The thing about this game that kind of irks me, on a more personal level is just the fact that the game tries to make these two boys into victims. At the time, there was this weird notion going around that these two kids were bullied, or that they were victims of the system in some way, when that just wasn't the case. In fact, there's a lot of evidence proving otherwise, including accounts that one of them went out of his way to bully other kids, and the fact that they were fairly popular, if anything. Definitely not the bottom of the totem pole, to say the very least. There was this sort of idea that if people just listened to them, then none of this would have happened, and the tragedy could have been avoided. A lot of the media simply didn't know what to make of the situation, which explains why so much was blamed on things such as violent video games and music. Yeah, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but this whole game is kind of a tangent, and weirdly unserious as well. During the massacre, all the kids are whittled down to nothing more than labels. The jock, the nerd, the cheerleader, which I guess is supposed to be disturbing. But once you finish all of them off, you wake up in hell. And again, the game is very unserious. So when you wake up in hell, you end up going on a whole mission fighting Doom sprites. What's weirder is that the devil is the devil from South Park. Literally. A lot of these sprites are just straight up taken from other things. You can already tell what kind of person made this game. Ultimately, when I started doing research for this game, I thought it was going to be something way darker and way edgier than it was. It's edgy and dark, like really dark. But honestly, I just kind of walked away with a sort of hatred for the creator of the game, Danny Ladon. So much of this game just feels dishonest and kind of disgusting, honestly. Maybe that's just me, but honestly, I kind of had to include it on the list just for what it is, and it's infamy. I had heard things about it, but I had never actually played the game, or even watched any dedicated videos on the subject. But after playing a fair bit of it, and watching entire walkthroughs, I can say that this game is just kinda weird, and I know I say that a lot about a lot of things. Maybe it's just my default NPC response, but hey, this game just has a very strange vibe to it. You can just tell that the person who made this game was a strange person themselves. Very weird. The game just gives you an uneasy feeling, and that feeling was more so pity mixed with a certain level of disgust. You can just tell that the person who made this game was kind of off their rocker themselves. They thought they were telling a serious story or conveying a serious message when they really weren't. The way the game tries to victimize these two guys whilst also making light of the situation is just kind of weird, and that's honestly something I'm struggling to try to convey through just talking about the game. I feel as if it's something you kind of have to do for yourself. It almost feels like a portal to a different time and to a different cultural zeitgeist. Since I've already talked about Columbine RPG, might as well talk about its copycat. VTech Rampage is a game released shortly after the 2007 Virginia Tech shooting. It gained notoriety almost immediately. Let's just take a minute to actually focus on the game itself, since so many people focus on the controversies surrounding it. At its core, VTech Rampage is a 2D side-scrolling shooter. The graphics are extremely basic, almost resembling stick figures, with pixelated backgrounds that are meant to resemble classrooms, hallways, and campus grounds. There's no soundtrack in the traditional sense, just looped snippets and crude sound effects. In the game, the player takes control of a character based explicitly on Sun Wade Cho, the real-life perpetrator of the Virginia Tech massacre. The game opens up with the character in his dorm room, preparing for the shooting. You're given a handgun and a trench coat, and then you're off, navigating through a simplified version of the Virginia Tech campus. The gameplay is relatively straightforward as well. Move right and basically just shoot everything, anything and anybody, students, professors, and eventually even the police. Nobody really fights back much aside from occasional security guards that fire back. From a game design perspective, there's not much progression or strategy. I think it's pretty obvious that this was made by an amateur, and I'm not gonna hate on amateur game developers. I myself kind of want to be one, and I'm probably gonna make something worse than this. But I think that it's fair game to criticize your game when you make it about, well, a shooter like this. The game ends the same way the actual massacre did, with the perpetrator ending his life, despite the backlash, or perhaps because of it. The game spread rapidly across forums and early gaming sites. It's now banned from most platforms, and Flash being, well, retired is kind of messed with the availability of this game, but it still does remain pretty preserved, if you want to go out of your way and play it, that is. Overall, guys, that's it for the video. I'm not going to make the outro too long. Just remember to like, subscribe, watch some other videos, and as always, I will probably make another weird video in like a week or two, so stay tuned, guys.